Hello, this is Mr. Yoon, and today we are going to learn how to derive a linear equation from table of values. So before we get to the main part of the lesson, let's review our last week's lesson. So over here, I have a table where I am given 5 different x values, and I have to figure out why y is the corresponding y values when y is equal to 3x plus 2. So all I had to do was simply replace the x value here with the given x value here. So I know then my y is going to be 3 times 0 plus 2, which is equal to 3 times 0 is 0, plus 2, so my y over here is 2. And if I follow the same process for the second one, I have 3 times 1 plus 2 is equal to 3 plus 2. Therefore, it's 5. And I'm actually going to use a different color for the y values. So 2 here, 5 there. And let's try to continue this until we go to the last one. So the next is going to be 3 times 2 plus 2, which is equal to 6 plus 2, which is 8. And the next is 3 times 3 plus 2, which is 3 times 3 is 9, plus 2 is 11. And the last one is 4 times 3 plus 2, which is 12 plus 2 is equal to 14. And that was it. And in the beginning of this video, I said today we're going to be learning about deriving a linear equation from the table of values. And now that was a lot of complicated words, but what it essentially means is that, so the main point of today's lesson in simple words is that if I'm just given this table without the equation where it says x is these values and y is just the numbers that are given in green, how do I find out the equation over here, 3x plus 2? So what we're going to do today is trying to figure out the equation y is equal to 3x plus 2 when we're just given x is equal to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, y is equal to 2, 5, 8, 11, 14. So from here, let's look at what happened. So when x was equal to 0, y was equal to 2. When 0, 2, when x was equal to 1, y was equal to 5. When x was equal to 2, x was equal to, y was equal to 8, 3, 11, 4, and then 14. Now, if you can, I would like you to pause the video here and think about any pattern that you notice here and anything interesting. So, I don't know if you have noticed, but over here, I can see that x is increasing by 1 each time, and my y value is increasing by 3. And since the y is increasing by the same value every time, we know that this relation is called a linear relation. And if you notice that it's specifically going up by plus 3. And where else do you see the plus 3? Which is when we see plus 3 over here in front of the x. Now, would that be a coincidence? That's something I'll tell you in a bit. So over here, we can see that when x is increasing by 1, y is increasing by 3. And increasing is just another word for plus 3. So over here, we're adding 3, and adding 3 repeatedly. And repeated addition there is a word that means repeated addition, and that is multiply. So if if you're adding 3 repeatedly, a different word for that is 3 times. So over here, we know that, okay, then that means that 3 must be getting multiplied to some value x. So that's the first step to figuring out the equation that represents this relation. But now we know that 3 times x is one part of the equation. And if I try to plug it in over here, for example, I know that when x is equal to 1, then according to this, I know then we have to do 3 times 1. But the thing is, 3 times 1 is not exactly 5. So then we know that there must have been something that was added in the beginning. So 3 times 1 is 3. So 3 plus some value is equal to 5. And we all know that 3 plus 2 is equal to 5. So that means that to arrive to y, 2 must have been added to 3x. So my final answer is going to be 3x plus 2. Now, let's try one more example. So the first thing to figuring out the corresponding equation for the given table is to figure out how much y is increasing by each time when x is increasing by 1. So one thing that you have to be careful about is to make sure that x is increasing by 1. So over here, the given x values are increasing by 1, so we don't have to worry about that. And over here, we can see that the y values are increasing by 2. So 3 plus 2 is 5, 5 plus 2 is 7, 7 plus 2 is 9. Then we know that we are going to have to multiply 2 times x. And 2 times x, and then there's going to be a second part over here that we're going to have to figure out, and then it should arrive for y. So next is plugging in any values of x and replace x and y into this equation. So I'm going to choose the first value. So I know that x, I'm just going to simply replace x with a 2. So I'm going to choose these pairs and I'm going to replace it here. So then I know that 2 times 2 is going to have to equal 3. But the thing is, I know that 2 times 2 is equal to 4. And then we have to do something to 4 to make it to a 3. Then we know 4 minus 1 is equal to 3. That means that we would have to subtract 1 from 2x to arrive to our y. And 2x minus 1 equals to y would be our final answer. So let's try to summarize today's lesson. So the first step to figuring out an equation is figure out how much y is increasing by when x is increasing by 1. And step 2 is write down the number that you found out in step 1 and put it in front of x. And leave a little bit of space and then write equals y. And the last step is choose any pair of x and y from the table and figure out what another thing we need to make the two values equal. That's it for today's lesson. Please feel free to ask questions if you have any.